Never believe that inner peace is something only special people get to feel. Some people look calm on the outside while their mind is a storm every minute of the day. Others seem peaceful only because they've learned how to hide the noise inside their head. And then there are people like you, who want real peace so badly that it almost hurts to admit you don't know how to find it. But here's the thing most people never say out loud: you're not the problem. The way you've been taught to look for peace is. We grow up thinking peace shows up when life gets easier, or when work slows down, or when stress disappears, or when we finally get our life together. But what if that's completely wrong? What if peace has nothing to do with the world outside you at all? What if the reason you feel restless is because nobody ever showed you the one simple thing that actually gives your mind space to breathe? This story starts with a young man who felt exactly like that. A young man who looked fine to everyone else, but lived with a mind that never gave him a break. He wasn't dramatic. He wasn't weak. He wasn't broken. He was just tired. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. And he didn't understand why no matter what he tried, he couldn't feel calm for more than a moment. Every morning, he woke up already feeling rushed. Every night, he went to bed feeling like his thoughts were picking him apart piece by piece. He went through his days pretending everything was okay, but inside he felt like something was slipping away from him. He couldn't point to it exactly. It wasn't one big problem. It was 100 tiny things that kept piling on top of each other until he felt like he couldn't breathe. He tried everything people online told him to try: meditation videos, breathing routines, inspirational quotes, even those 30-day peace challenges that promised to fix everything. None of it lasted. None of it touched the real problem. None of it brought him the kind of peace that stays with you, even when life is loud. He thought maybe peace just wasn't for him. Until one day, he overheard a simple conversation about a village monk known for helping people understand their minds in a way that made their worries stop controlling them. People said the monk didn't preach. He didn't judge. He didn't force anything. He simply showed people something they had been missing their whole life. And that one simple thing changed everything for them. Curious and desperate, the young man decided to travel to the village himself. He didn't know what he was searching for. He didn't know what the monk would say. He didn't know if it would help. He only knew one thing. If there was even the smallest chance that this monk could show him why his mind felt like a battle he never asked to fight, he had to try. What he discovered in that village, the lesson the monk shared with him, was nothing like what he expected. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't a deep spiritual secret. It wasn't a complicated practice. In fact, it was something so simple, so human, and so easy to start that when you hear it, you'll wonder why nobody ever told you sooner. If you've ever felt like peace is something just out of reach, stay with this story. What the monk teaches might change the way you see your mind forever. His name was Daniel, and even though he wasn't old, he always felt drained. He wasn't tired because he wasn't sleeping. He was tired because his mind never stopped talking. Every day felt like noise, even when everything around him was quiet. At work, he rushed. At home, he rushed. Even when he walked outside, his steps were quick, like he was trying to catch up to something he couldn't see. He thought all of this was normal. Everyone around him lived the same way, busy, overwhelmed, distracted. But deep down, Daniel felt like he was losing control of his own mind. He woke up with stress. He worked with stress. He ate with stress. He went to sleep with stress. His thoughts didn't rest, not even for a minute. He wanted peace, real peace, not temporary breaks, not moments where things felt okay for 5 minutes. He wanted something stable, something he could carry with him, something that didn't disappear the second life got hard. But no matter what he tried, journaling, exercising, reading, listening to relaxing music, taking short trips, nothing gave him the kind of peace he imagined. Then one day, something happened that changed everything. He overheard 2 older men at a cafe talking about a monk who lived in a small mountain village. They said people traveled from all over just to talk with him, because he had a way of helping people understand their minds without judgment or lectures. One man said, "He doesn't give advice. He gives clarity." Those words got stuck in Daniel's head. Clarity. That was all he wanted. So, after weeks of thinking about it, he finally made the trip. He hoped the monk would teach him some secret trick, some hidden wisdom, something powerful, ancient, life-changing that only monks knew. But what he learned was nothing like what he expected. The village was quiet, nothing like the city Daniel came from. No car horns, no rushing, no stress in the air. just slow footsteps, soft voices, and people who looked like they weren't trying to chase life. Daniel asked around until someone pointed him toward a small wooden house on a hill. The monk is usually outside, the villager said. He likes the fresh air. When Daniel reached the house, he saw the monk sitting on a wooden bench under a tree. He wasn't meditating. He wasn't chanting. He wasn't doing anything special. He was simply watching the wind move through the leaves, like someone watching a quiet moment they didn't want to miss. Daniel stood there awkwardly until the monk turned his head and smiled. Not a big smile, just a gentle one that made Daniel feel like he wasn't bothering him at all. "What brings you here?" the monk asked. Daniel didn't know where to start. Should he talk about his stress, his racing thoughts, his worries about the future, his constant anxiety? Instead, he blurted out the one thing that had been sitting on his chest for years. "My mind won't stop." The monk nodded, like he'd heard that same sentence 1,000 times. "Sit," he said, and Daniel did. They sat together on the bench in silence. The monk didn't rush him to talk. He didn't ask for details. He didn't act like he already understood everything. He simply let the moment breathe. After a few minutes, the monk said, "Your mind is noisy because you keep feeding it." Daniel frowned. "Feeding it what?" "Everything," the monk said. "Noise, fear, pressure, expectations, thoughts you don't even believe in, things you don't even care about. You feed it all day. So at night, the mind keeps working. It's full." Daniel had never thought of it that way. The monk continued, "Peace is not something you wait for. Peace is something you make room for." Daniel felt a twist in his chest. "But how? I tried everything. Nothing works." The monk smiled softly, as if he expected Daniel to say that. "Most people try to force peace," he said. "They try to silence their mind. They try to push away thoughts. That will never work. Peace doesn't come from force. It comes from understanding." Daniel shook his head. "I don't understand anything happening in my mind." "That is why you are here," the monk said. He stood up and signaled Daniel to follow him. They walked behind the house to a small garden. It wasn't fancy, just a patch of earth with a few flowers, some stones, and a small fountain made of bamboo. The monk pointed to the ground. "Look," he said. Daniel looked. He didn't see anything unusual. The monk bent down and gently touched the soil. "This is your mind." Daniel said nothing. He wasn't sure what the monk meant. Then the monk picked up a handful of small pebbles from the ground near the path and dropped them into the soil. The pebbles scattered everywhere. "This is everything you allow into your mind without noticing. Noise, pressure, fear, opinions, worries," the monk said. "You let it all in, and then you get confused when your mind feels heavy." He looked at Daniel. "Of course it feels heavy. You filled it." Daniel let those words sink in. He never thought of his mind as something that could get filled. He thought thoughts were just thoughts, random, constant, unstoppable. But now he wondered, what if he was the one feeding the chaos without realizing it? The monk stood up again. "Come," he said. They walked to the bamboo fountain. Water dripped slowly into a wooden cup, filling it with patience. "When the cup is full," the monk said, "the water spills out. It doesn't matter how good the water is. The cup cannot hold more." Daniel nodded. This made sense. The mind, the monk continued, is the same. But people don't notice it spilling. They think the spilled water is failure or stress or anxiety. They never look at the cup. Daniel stared at the dripping water. Slow, calm, patient, nothing like the flow of his own thoughts. "So what should I do?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet. The monk smiled softly. "Empty the cup every day." Daniel waited, expecting some complicated ritual or deep spiritual practice. The monk simply said, "Sit with your mind for 10 minutes each day. Not to control it, not to fix it, just to watch it. That is how you learn what to release." Daniel blinked. "That's it. That is everything," the monk said. "Most people run from their thoughts. That is why they suffer." Daniel swallowed hard, because he knew he was one of those people. He ran from his thoughts every day, by staying busy, by distracting himself, by filling his mind with anything that wasn't silence. The monk led Daniel back to the bench under the tree. "Sit alone here for 10 minutes, he said. "I will come back when the time is up." Daniel wasn't sure he could do it. 10 minutes with his own thoughts felt like standing alone in a dark room with no way out. But he nodded, because he trusted the monk, and because he wanted peace more than anything else. He sat. The monk walked away. The first minute felt fine. The second minute felt strange. By the third minute, His thoughts were already crawling in. Old worries, new fears, things he needed to do tomorrow, mistakes he made last year. By minute 4, his chest tightened a little. By minute 5, he wanted to stand up and run. But he didn't. He stayed. He realized something strange. The thoughts weren't trying to hurt him. They weren't attacking him. They were just there, like clouds drifting across the sky. It was him who kept grabbing them. It was him who kept holding on to them. It was him who didn't know how to let go. When the monk returned, he asked, "What did you learn?" Daniel said, "My thoughts feel loud because I never let them pass. I hold on to everything." The monk nodded. "That is the weight you carry. Letting thoughts pass is the beginning of inner peace." He looked at the monk and asked, "But what if I don't like what I find in those 10 minutes?" The monk looked straight at him. "Then that is exactly what you need to face." Daniel stayed in the village for 3 more days, practicing those 10 minutes each morning. He didn't become perfectly calm. He didn't reach some magical state. But something changed in him, a shift so small and so real he felt it in his chest. He learned the truth. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you make space for. And when he returned home, the world wasn't quieter. But his mind was. Because he finally understood that life doesn't have to be calm for him to be calm.